Welcome to the What is Stoicism podcast.
It can sometimes be challenging to remember what it actually means to do philosophy. To some, it's an abstract concept. When it comes to Stoicism, however, it's very much a practical pursuit that impacts our daily lives. Here's how Pierre Hadot describes it in his book Philosophy as a Way of Life. Quote, "For the Stoic, doing philosophy meant practicing how to live. That is, how to live freely and consciously. Consciously in that we pass beyond the limits of individuality to recognize ourselves as a part of the reason-animated cosmos. Freely in that we give up desiring that which does not depend on us and is beyond our control, so as to attach ourselves only to what depends on us, actions which are just and in conformity with reason." End quote. To carry out these actions, Hadot says, we should mentally rehearse our guiding principles at the start of our day, and to ensure we're getting a little better each day, we should review our actions at the end of the day. Quote, "First thing in the morning, we should go over in advance what we have to do during the course of the day, and decide on the principles which will guide and inspire our actions. In the evening, we should examine ourselves again, so as to be aware of the faults we have committed or the progress we have made." End quote. Finally, throughout the day, we should examine our thoughts in an attempt to control our inner discourse and render it coherent. Quote, "The goal is to arrange it around a simple, universal principle, the distinction between what does and does not depend on us, or between freedom and nature. Whoever wishes to make progress strives by means of dialogue with himself or with others, as well as by writing, to carry on his reflections in due order, and finally to arrive at a complete transformation of his representation of the world, his inner climate, and his outer behaviour." End quote. Through these considered actions, which begin, as always, first thing in the morning, we're able to make a little progress each day. We're able to examine our thoughts, separate what depends on us from what doesn't, and live consciously and freely. That's essentially what it means to do philosophy. This idea of having our inner climate be in harmony with our outer behaviour makes Stoicism a great example of a philosophy that promotes balance in life. Not only does the cardinal virtue of temperance edge us closer to harmony and good discipline in the soul in respect of normal pleasures and pains, as Plato put it, but the very adoption of Stoicism as a philosophy of life requires a balance between theory and practice. Practical execution of what we learn is most important, of course, but it must be in harmony with the theory. On the other hand, learning the theory of how to act is useless if we don't practice the action. Said another way, learning how to live is useless if we don't try to live. The responsibility to first learn deeply and then seek to flourish through the practice of virtue and self-cultivation was taken very seriously from ancient to Renaissance times and beyond, so much so that it was at the forefront of cultures and led to the emergence of renowned philosophers and polymaths alike. Indeed, the Renaissance poet Petrarch warned of the dangers of getting overwhelmed by theory. Quote, "Books have led some to learning and others to madness when they swallow more than they can digest." End quote. In his novel Gates of Fire, Stephen Pressfield describes phobologic discipline, a series of exercises Spartan warriors would repeatedly practice to overcome fears. Through these exercises, they sought to cultivate a state of self-composure called esotericae harmonia. Those excelling in esotericae harmonia could then best contribute to exotericae harmonia, the state of union with one's fellows, which parallels the musical harmony of the multi-stringed instrument or of the chorus of voices itself. Exotericae harmonia was relied on in battle to guide the phalanx and move and strike as one man, of a single mind and will. This typically disciplined approach of the Spartans mirrors the internal then external focus applied to self-improvement by the ancient philosophers, Renaissance figures, and us modern practitioners. The way to balance our efforts then, when it comes to making progress today, we might interpret in its simplest form as follows. 1. Turn inwards to learn and to cultivate your virtuous character. 2. Turn outwards to practice and contribute more purposefully to the common good.